Come on along and help me sing this song where the adventure grew. That's me and you, and the whole world too. Continuing south on the Bay Circuit Trail, across Newberry's Lower Green, past a one-room schoolhouse, we travel down Route 1A, admiring the Doe Little House, which was made from salvaged materials nearly 300 years ago. Crossing a bridge over the Parker River with its scenic views and crumbling banks, we walk down Old Rowley Road, past rock walls, well-groomed yards, and along the marsh. One house secluded on its edge. The road turns to gravel and we pass some new construction, perhaps made to look old. Phragmites sway in the warm breeze as storm clouds gather above. We take our second side trip of the hike into the Great Salt Marsh. So you were saying, how many acres this is?
Rough numbers, about 17 to 20,000 acres.
Scientist Peter Phippen has spent 8 years doing research studying the expansive salt marsh we are now witnessing. And as he and his colleagues are finding out, the Great Salt Marsh is losing one of its main ingredients, salt.
It really was unknown how important the salinity values are in the marsh. It can also spread by seed.
One reason salt became the subject of intensive research is due to this highly invasive plant, Phragmites.
It's taking over native habitat, and with the loss of native habitat, you lose the native fish populations, you lose the native bird populations, you lose the other native plants. So it's just changing the environment for the worse, and eventually you'll lose the marsh. One of the major uses of the marsh is flood protection against storm surge, especially with sea level rise and climate change in the offing. The marsh is going to be very important at protecting the upland areas.
Crossing our third border into Rowley, one of the towns sharing the Great Salt Marsh, we hike down Redgate Road, back onto Route 1A, past plenty of firewood and freshly turned fields that promise a summer of locally grown vegetables. It's time to sit on a guardrail to eat my lunch and to think about all the roads I've been walking on.
It was a seminal event, but it also set a really great pattern. It involved all the towns. It was definitely grassroots.
Let's visit oral historian Marlise Henderson to find out a little bit more about a vision described in a 1930 Globe article by a man named Benton MacKay.
He wrote an article about a super bypass. So maybe now we have the 128. He was envisioning a highway that was going even further outside of 128 now, with one lane going north and one lane going south and 2 miles in between that was all green space.
As we look at the transcripts of nearly 12 interviews, there is one emotion that stands out.
Everybody was very eager to be part of saving the Bay Circuit. It was all, to give it publicity, to not forget any of the good things that have happened.
And in 1990, a through hike of what was then the coming together of the Bay Circuit Trail, Marlise recalls this shared memory.
Everybody that you talk to, it seemed, you pull them out of their busy job and they start talking about it, and all of a sudden they'll talk about the trek and they come alive, and it's like it happened yesterday, and they'll say, was it that long ago? Almost in shock. But it's such an inspiring concept.
How'd it go?
Vendors at the Todd Farm Flea Market pack up trying to avoid the predicted rain. We pass old homes and antique shops through the center of Rowley with its churches and town hall. Some call this section the Rowley Gap because it's all on roads, past a lot of private property.
There's a strong group of people who don't like the idea of trails because they own property along the trails that they're afraid it's going to negatively impact.
One success after years of work, getting at least part of this hike off the road, is the Bradstreet Farm.
It's part of the Great Marsh, which is an ecosystem that's very important for breeding a lot of marine life. And as you encroach on it, this property actually was under 61A, and the town was able to buy it out from underneath the developer who was going to develop a subdivision here.
Sue Moses visits the community garden. She's a planning consultant who specializes in land use and economic development and transportation. One form of transportation has become a part of her research.
Trails actually add value to properties, so from the point of view of the community, we should be looking to add trails because it increases property values.
Tired from a long day of road walking, I can't help feeling sad, thinking about the 1930 dream of a 2-mile greenway surrounding the whole of Boston. Sue Moses leaves me with this final thought, a thought I've heard echoed by many of the folks we've been interviewing.
So I was always out in open space and enjoying it, and I just think it's something that you can't get back. Once it's developed, you can't get it back.
Once it's gone forever. Your last goodbye when the angel cries. Park the car in paradise. And don't think twice. It's gone forever. Once it's gone, it's gone forever. Once it's